So just in case there's anybody on who is unfamiliar with me, my name's Alex. I'm the education and training specialist. You probably all get the emails from me about local GovU training, and I'll be going over a little bit of that here today. But my topic is making the best of online training. Let me see. Okay, there we go. Now it's changing. So just to kind of recap, the last year was certainly different and difficult. For us, it started out positively. It started out like any other year, where we had a slate of training workshops lined up, ready to go. And we actually were able to hold our fair and events workshop. That went off pretty well. And then come April, due to COVID, we ended up having to cancel everything and move all of our training online. And so, it was frustrating on that front, because we had all these workshops planned that we were looking forward to doing, but we adapted in order to kind of keep trying to provide the counties with the training that that you expect from us and that you deserve. So in order to do that, we implemented a long gestating idea of a training calendar through local GovU, where we issue mostly the designated risk coordinators of the county calendars with suggested trainings, dates for those to be issued and completed by, and supplemental trainings that that you might find useful. So through 2020, through that initiative, we saw a pretty decent increase in online training, especially as for a lot of people, this was kind of the only viable option for delivering critical trainings to county employees, especially as some counties moved to work from home situations, or couldn't gather employees for trainings. So we're all longing to return to normalcy, like Johnny mentioned. We're hoping to be able to get back to trainings in person for these workshops. But for a lot of organizations, online training is going to be a go-to option. And no matter how you look at it, it's kind of going to just keep growing. It's going to keep being an option that more and more people are going to utilize, even when things get back to normal. So what we want to look at is ways to make the best of that and utilize it to your greatest advantage. So I want to just go over a few of the online training options that UCIP does offer, because we do have a few. The first that we're probably most familiar with is local GovU. It's the primary platform that we use to deliver online training to the membership. So we have 22 counties that fall under UCIP. 20 of them have local GovU accounts, and 10 of the special service districts and health districts that we cover have access to local GovU too. So local GovU offers 100 courses to the users, and nearly 1,000 law enforcement short video courses. And this is something that's offered to all members at no additional cost. Like I said, we implemented that training calendar initiative, where we issue risk coordinators that calendar with suggested trainings. With that, we've had 16 of our 22 member counties participate in that. The others have just decided to utilize local GovU as they see fit on their own, which is fine, but 16 member counties are participating in that. One of the options that we have for that is that I will issue those trainings on your behalf. We have, of the 16 counties doing that, participating, we have half of those that have me issue those trainings on their behalf. It's just a way that they can get training out to the members without kind of adding to your various day-to-day duties. Let's see. Another option we have is Bridge. Like I mentioned, local GovU has law enforcement training videos. Bridge is a dedicated platform specifically for law enforcement. So it has a course catalog of 200 courses. They examine general issues from a law enforcement perspective. So local GovU has something like sexual harassment in the workplace training. Bridge has that as well, but it's looking at it specifically from a law enforcement angle and dealing with issues of sexual harassment that they may find unique to their profession. It also has a bunch of courses that are dedicated specifically to law enforcement issues, search and seizure and things of that nature. So this is something that is funded by a grant that we have received, and we offer it to law enforcement, to the county law enforcement free of charge as well. If anybody is looking in the law enforcement for additional training options, this is something I would recommend sharing with them. I've reached out to them with it, but giving it to them from another source might be useful. And I'm happy to conduct one-on-one trainings with them, with any parties interested in that, to kind of give them an overview of what it is. I also did last month a training on utilizing LocalGovU and Bridge that we can refer county law enforcement to as well. Like I said, I did that over Zoom. We're all kind of familiar with Zoom at this point. We just made the switch from GoToMeeting to Zoom just because a lot of government offices are using Zoom. It's kind of the go-to standard that everybody's familiar with. Like Johnny had kind of mentioned, in-person training is almost always going to be the preferred go-to method that everybody's going to want to utilize. But in lieu of that, Zoom is a good good functional alternative to getting that face-to-face interaction and reduce travel time if that's a concern. One of my favorite features about Zoom is that it we're recording this presentation right now. We'll get it up. It has really clean audio, I think, in comparison to GoToMeeting that we used previously. So I think that'll even be handy once we get to doing these trainings in person and offering that as a hybrid training like we've done before, where we've allowed you to participate online as well as in person. And then we can easily put these trainings up online for you to revisit, or if you're unable to visit a training, you're able to access them later. Another option we have is our online archive. So when we canceled a lot of our trainings last year, during kind of the slower part of the summer, I put together a training archive that has every PowerPoint presentation, handout, video that we have on file for workshops since 2004. So older workshops didn't necessarily have all those materials. They may not have had the videos or materials that we didn't have stored digitally, but everything from 2014 on, we have presentations, handouts, and video for almost all the trainings. This archive is something that we're going to continue to update. This meeting will be on there shortly after we've completed, and I'll send out an email for that, so you know that when these trainings are available. Okay. So knowing those different options, what I want to cover in making the best out of your training is knowing your audience. This is going to help you figure out what content, in this case, which online training your employees and members care about. Knowing what they are interested in and how they receive it will allow you to tailor online training to the needs of the members of your counties. And in part, knowing how to tailor that is going to take into consideration the 5 generations in the workforce. So we've kind of talked about the 5 generations before in other workshops and in infographics that I put together, but I wanted to kind of specific to this, just kind of go over those 5 generations here real quick and kind of how they have adapted generally to online training. And we'll just review those real quick. We've got currently in the workforce, the silent generation, born between 1928 and 45, baby boomers, born between 46 and 64, Gen X, born between 65 and 80, millennials or Gen Y, born between 81 and 96, and Gen Z, born between 1997 and 2012. So each cohort has different learning expectations and preferences, which we'll want to take into consideration. So Gen Z and millennials are the most likely to embrace and adapt to and thrive with online training. And there's a couple reasons for that. So Gen Z has grown up in an era pretty much where the internet has always existed and where information has been delivered over the internet. The majority of them, 95%, have at least one internet connected device. Millennials, which is my generation, grew up with modern technological changes and are very used to adapting to and adopting new technological trends. So like Gen Z, 93% of us own at least one internet connected device, and over 85% of us use social media. Both generations are digital natives. We enjoy flexibility and mobility of online learning. Millennials also are the largest cohort in the workforce right now. So we occupy approximately 1/3 of the workforce. The oldest Gen Z members top out around 24. So Gen Z makes up a relatively small portion of the workforce, currently about 5%. So I don't know how many counties have a lot of Gen Z members employed right now, but they're coming for you. So their style and needs are going to want to be considered, even if they're not currently on your rosters. Fortunately, though, if you're used to millennials, in that case, online training will be suited right for Gen Z. It's kind of right up our alley. So that's something to consider with online training. All right, Gen Z generally values, Gen X values innovation, independence, and self-direction. So online training for this group will kind of involve offering more choices to the format or topics they'd like to tackle, which is kind of why I wanted to review the different options that we have for training through UCIP. Generational data indicates Gen X are likely to investigate training on their own with just general nudges towards online training. And once they get in there, they're generally ready to tackle it and willing to explore it. They just kind of want to do it on their own terms. So they make up slightly less of the workforce than millennials, but they're adaptable and will take well to online training based on research and data that's been found. They've also been around technology for a long time. They weren't maybe necessarily born with it in the same way that millennials and Gen Z have been, but they've adapted to it through the workplace, and once they're in control of their learning, once they feel in control of it, they're going to be in for the long haul and thrive with it. Okay, baby boomers value education and training in the workplace and have just shown to be maybe a little less likely to adopt online training as wholeheartedly as younger generations. Their learning styles and preferences include linear learning, in-person interaction, and familiarity with traditional learning. So it may make them less enthusiastic to jump into online training, but they generally do well with it. They make up a quarter of the workforce, and their experience is really valuable. And though some have ventured into retirement, they're going to be with the workforce for a long time to come. So in considering online training for baby boomers, self-guided learning and interactive video conferencing may be the best combination to ensure learning needs are met with that cohort. Okay, and then we've got the silent generation that favor traditional instructor-led training. So when incorporating online learning for silence, consider their preferred learning style. Video sessions where questions can be asked in real time may ease them more comfortably into online learning, as opposed to the self-guided programs like LocalGovU, where you're kind of just, you kind of go in there and are let loose with it. It's not to say that they're not familiar with platforms like LocalGovU. They just may need more assistance using it. They also make up the smallest percentage of workers in the workforce. They only account for about 2%. So the amount of accommodation might vary just depending on your workforce breakdown. So that might be something to take into consideration as well. When assigning training to silent generation members through platforms like LocalGovU, just ensure that they have the support they need and allow them to provide feedback through the process so that they know they're understood and not overlooked in favor of younger generations. Okay, Are there any questions on that so far?
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay, all right, perfect, thank you. Okay, so we'll want to look at, when doing online trainings, you'll want to address employee needs. So most employees have some weaknesses in their workplace skills. Training programs allow those skills to be strengthened and improved. So a training program brings all employees to a higher level, so they have similar skills and knowledge, and that helps reduce weak links within the company for those who rely heavily on others to complete basic tasks. So providing necessary training creates an overall knowledgeable staff with employees who can take over for one another as needed. And that's something that we found useful here at UCIP. You know, we have people cross-trained to take over, like if Corby's gone, Marty can take over for him with responding to claims. There are several ways that online training can address these needs in ways that traditional training can't. And I want to go over those to help you kind of adapt with more online training options. So one of those is flexibility. Technology kind of brings more and more demands on us. We are expected to kind of keep up with training and learning, and working 8 to 5 combined with in-person training can create some inconveniences. Some employees, like I know when I've talked to people trying to arrange training for roads departments, they have a hard time getting everybody into the same space at the same time, even during non-pandemic times, right? So having everybody come in to sit in on a live training can definitely interrupt the flow of work. And if you're currently swamped, even taking time out for that, if it's in your own office, can cause some workflow interruption. So cap that off with you know, gathering restrictions or distancing protocols, and you'll find further complications with getting people together. One of the benefits of online training is that they can usually be taken anytime, anywhere. Local GovU trainings don't have a limit with how many users can be in a training at a time. And when we do options like Zoom trainings, there are caps to how many people you can have, but it's usually pretty high. Nothing that the pool has done as far as like a Zoom, as far as our traditional workshops couldn't be done in Zoom without meeting that cap. So the only other requirement really is an internet connection, and with phones and tablets, we are able to tap into the internet pretty much any place. Online trainings can be taken when your workflow is slow, which is nice if you're able to complete it in whole that way, or you can do it piecemeal, which is nice, allowing you to take courses in small chunks of time. So when I assign these local GovU courses and review them, because we also throw some little bits of the training onto the social media channels just to kind of highlight the trainings that we're doing through the month. I take those courses as well. And so I've had times where I'm trying to get those courses taken care of, but have other tasks come up or things that need to be completed more immediately. And it's nice to just be able to stop that training, take care of what I need to, and then come back to it and pick up right where I left off. They can also be multitasked. So depending on the training and the platform you're using, you can just listen to the audio or video files while you're working on other tasks, which is something, you know, I've been able to do when I'm just kind of creating documents that I create all the time, and I can listen to trainings and get the information while I'm taking care of a task that doesn't require a lot of dedicated focus. Another benefit is mobility. So any place that has an internet connection is now, with online training, is one that can be taken advantage of. Even when considering just a decade ago, you would kind of be limited in online trainings that you would have to be in front of either a desktop or a laptop. But now, you know, with tablets and smartphones, you're able to jump onto these courses in any place, and they're nicely formatted for the device that you're using. LocalGovU and Bridge are formatted for devices, so they appear in the appropriate format, whether you're on a laptop or a desktop or a tablet or a phone. And I've been able to take LocalGovU courses and start it on a tablet, transition to my phone, and then take a break, work on something else, and finish it on my desktop. So it's really nice with these platforms to be able to start something somewhere, and then, you know, if you have to completely shut it down for a day or two and then come back to it, you can jump onto it on a different device, and it'll be nice and clean and easy to use no matter what format, no matter what device you're using. Similarly, we've formatted the UCIP website to appear mobile and tablet friendly. So all of the archive trainings, if you're trying to access those through the website, those are designed to appear easy on the eyes, no matter what device you're using, and can also, the videos that we have can be accessed through the pool's YouTube channel. So even if you're not using the website, you can search those trainings out there, and that'll be formatted appropriately for whatever device you're using. Zoom also is nice on that front. We have used Zoom for our board meetings, and we've had members participating through their computers and their tablets and their phones, and we haven't experienced any kind of issue of interruption that way, regardless of what device people are using. And the nice thing about mobility is just that it gives your trainees more options on how they feel comfortable with completing a training and where they can do it. Another benefit of the online training platforms is information retention. So in face-to-face kind of classroom style settings, I'm sure we've all experienced where, you know, somebody goes off on a tangent, and not that that can't necessarily happen with online trainings, but you know, there are other factors that are brought into these online trainings that kind of help keep the focus on the topic itself. Self-led courses like LocalGovU alleviate this because the content is laid out to be explored directly by the learner, and online courses are kind of designed with the intent to help you retain the information through a few kind of visual flares and tricks. So they're designed to have attractive images that you can associate with the training. There are videos that are produced specifically for the trainings, which if you go into LocalGovU and Bridge, the courses that I've taken have had, not all of the courses, but several of them have videos that are produced directly for these trainings with the topic in mind. Fonts or something, I mean, it seems kind of silly, but the aesthetics can help you kind of like images and video associate with a topic and help retain that information a little bit better. I've also seen clips from movies or news reappropriated for a topic that can help you associate and retain that information a bit better, as well as animations like we just saw with these transitions that can help keep your attention on the training and retain the information longer. Of course, these aren't new, right? We've seen these through you know, in-person trainings that we conduct all the time. A complication that arises is lighting in the room can make screens difficult to see and curb their effectiveness. Last year too, when we conducted the Fair and Events workshop, the room that we were in, we were at the Utah State Fair Park, and the room we were in had a gigantic heating cooling unit that kept kicking on and that kept interrupting the audio quality, definitely over the Zoom portion of it, but even in the venue itself, it made it hard to hear the presenter. And so with these strictly online trainings, you know, the quality has less likelihood of being interrupted in that way. The audio visual integrity can be preserved. And then if there's something that maybe you didn't quite catch or misunderstood or wanted to go back again, you can rewind, pause, replay to your heart's content until that information is successfully absorbed. Okay. Any questions with any of that? Nothing in the
Nothing in
chat?
chat.
Okay, perfect. Okay. With online training, though, one of the things that you definitely want to be able to help the trainees see is the real world benefits of that training, because we can tell anyone anything, but especially with something that's new or less familiar, the real sale comes when you can demonstrate the practical benefits and how it's going to affect the employees' jobs and lives. That goes across with online training too. So to engage trainees, it helps to show them how online training is a true benefit to them and not just something that they've been assigned and that they have to do. One of the ways that that the programs that we utilize can do this is through progress reports and online assessments that test their ability to understand the topics without the pressure of taking an actual exam. So LocalGovU has multiple learning checkpoints throughout any given training, testing the learner on their knowledge based on the material they've been presented so far, but it allows them to progress without, regardless of the score that they receive. There are final exams that users are required to take and that usually has a threshold of 80% that they need to pass in order to check that course off. But they are allowed to review the material and retake exams up to 2 times in order to demonstrate that they understand the content that's been presented to them. Online assessments can also bring about a fair scoring system that allows the trainees to evaluate their understanding of any given subject. And progress checks and exams show or allow users to demonstrate the knowledge that they've gained without being called upon necessarily in like a live session or asked to speak publicly themselves. And that can kind of be distressing for somebody if they are uncomfortable with relaying that they understand a topic in front of a group of other people. Doing that on their own kind of gives them a little bit more freedom. And like I mentioned, if something isn't passed, they have the opportunity to retake the exams or repeat a training if they need to in order to pass off the course. Another benefit of that is they're given certificates of completion. In some cases, you know, an employee may be asked to demonstrate or prove that they've taken a course, especially with annual requirements like sexual harassment training. That certificate that is awarded to them upon completing a training demonstrates that they've taken the course and with those exams understand the material that was given to them and understand what's expected of them with it. Another thing to kind of give with online trainings is relatable examples. So most courses on LocalGovU and Bridge contain a lot of examples of real world incidents relating to the topic, but they're generally of national relevance or of out of state incidents, something that happened in California or New York that may not be of direct relevance to somebody working in Utah, right? So one of the benefits of the trainings that we conduct, either through our archive or in presentations that we can provide for you online, is that we can relate that to things going on in Utah and give examples of that here. All of UCIP staff strive to make that relatable, but I know that Johnny and Corby are exceptionally talented with weaving in those examples and making those trainings that they do relatable to members of the pool. So any topic that UCIP presents, I think you can trust will have relatable information and examples in applying it to the real world benefit for your employees, whether it's done in person or online. Another thing I want to point out to make the most out of your online training is the fiscal savings that you can enjoy. Thinking about it with any in-person training that you've attended, you probably received a handout with an agenda, copies of presentation slides, room for notes, kind of like what we've prepared today that I shared, that's hosted on the website and that we emailed to you, right? When you take it back to your office though, consider how long does something like that last until it ends up in the recycling bin. These physical copies of notes and slides, along with course certifications, they definitely have their place, but they're also expensive, or they can be expensive depending on how many you're preparing. Digital versions of these materials, though, they don't have associated production costs other than for the person you're paying to make them, and they can be accessed directly online. So like I mentioned, all of these notes are going to be hosted on our website that you can then save to a hard drive if you like, or you can print it out if you really like having physical copies. Certifications for courses that are passed, those are like through LocalGovU. Those are accessible through your LocalGovU account, but you can also save the PDF to a hard drive or to a server location if you want to store them all in one spot, or they can be printed if you need hard copies, or if the employee in question wants to have a copy of that. And reference videos, course materials, and examination scores can be saved and reviewed multiple times. There's no limit to how many times you can access these things when they are stored digitally. Like I'd mentioned before, sorry, I just lost my place in my notes. LocalGovU and Bridge courses, they're accessible to members of the pool at no cost, and live online sessions conducted for you by the pool. If you request that we do a training that way, they're done at no cost to you as well. And even with the live trainings that we conduct, when they're done through Zoom simultaneously, there's an associated fee when you're in person that usually covers the cost of lunch, but the online portion is free to access those events. So, and like I mentioned, all trainings are going to be archived through the website, and they're accessible freely to pool membership. So those are another kind of way to consider cost-effective solutions for training when utilized efficiently. Okay, any questions on any of that? I'm not hearing or seeing any. Okay, so to conclude, I just want to point that, whether it's in person or online, no program is going to be perfect, and no program is going to satisfy the needs of every trainee perfectly. But the options that we have, I think, are really good options to offer that help you make the best out of help you make the best out of your online training. self-guided programs like LocalGovU are excellent for learners who want to be able to conduct their trainings kind of on their own terms and in their own time, or who want to complete training in segments as they have time, especially as things pick up and they get busy. Our Zoom trainings are great for anybody who prefers traditional kind of live trainings, and they're able to access them that way, where they can raise questions and get answers in real time. Our archive trainings that are available through the UCIP website, obviously those don't allow for live questions other than those that were asked in the training itself, but they're kind of a nice hybrid because the trainings are delivered in the way that traditional trainings are presented, but they also allow users to pause and take breaks, rewind if there's something that they need to understand better, and they have the questions and answers as they were presented at the time. Also with those, in most cases, presenter contact information is provided in the archive. So if there's a question that comes up that wasn't answered in the training itself, you can follow up with the presenter and get an answer to your question, or maybe find out something more if that's something that kind of starts you down a path on a topic. So we realize that most people in organizations are ready to move on and get back to normal. But online training that we offer, it is a pretty solid solution to training needs for your organization and can help make the best out of the current situation. They also allow for the very needs of your learners to be met. And if there's anything that we can do to make, you know, to specialize that, or to make something easier for somebody, the best way to do that is just to let us know. We're always trying to look for ways to improve the training and make it better for you. That's also why we have those surveys at the end of our workshops, just because we want to make these the best that they can be for the membership, so that you can have the best information possible and be able to utilize it in the best way possible to reduce your risk and exposure. With that, are there any other questions I might be able to answer on training and how to utilize it best at this time? Okay, I'm not seeing anything in chat or hearing anything. So with that, I will turn things over to Johnny.